Star family, happy solar eclipse eve. Ready to find out about what's going on with this hybrid solar eclipse and want to know more about what that even means? As always, we are connecting with the true sky in real time as we can see it. Stay tuned to learn more. Okay, so here we are looking at the sky here. You can see right here that this sun-moon conjunction, which is what the solar eclipse and new moon is happening in the sign of Pisces at the very, very end right over here. Solar eclipses are always the new moon phase, while lunar eclipses are always the full moon phase. These are karmic points, and they represent endings, which are also new beginnings. They're transitional periods. Now, to increase this transitional energy that is this solar eclipse is the effect of Pluto right over here at the tail end of Sagittarius, not Aquarius, and not even Capricorn just yet, is making a perfect 90-degree square to the sun and moon. Now, a 90-degree square, if you imagine what a square is, right, it creates a lot of tension. Now, when I talk about squares and I try to break down this energy for those who are unfamiliar, imagine you were driving. And if you were heading towards a 90-degree turn, you would have to slow down and take your time navigating. So squares are points in the sky that represent tension. It doesn't mean that it can't be navigated. It requires more understanding. It requires you to slow down and really integrate and work with. It is a challenge, but challenges are very essential in life. So square isn't a bad thing, nor is it a good thing. It is just an influence of a 90-degree angle in the sky. So Pluto making this square to this solar eclipse of transition really brings on the emphasis of the endings. And so when we combine this energy with the sun and moon eclipse to Pluto, you get a metamorphosis of our consciousness. Think about that. Metamorphosis of your consciousness. Both the conscious mind, which is the sun, and the unconscious mind, which is the moon, the emotional realm, which fuels our conscious thinking for a lot of people, is facing this 90 degrees, being challenged by Pluto. So what parts of yourself or areas in your life that need to come to an end or need to transform in order for you to really step into the next phase of your life? Now let's talk about this happening in the sign of Pisces. Pisces, being the last sign of the zodiac, usually represents this whole encompassing picture of the signs, this journey towards from the end back to the beginning. Pisces very often represents right before the birth of Aries, this deep, dark waters. And so being at the very end of Pisces, because the sun will be moving into Aries on April 22nd. So just 2 days after this solar eclipse. And so it's a spiritual topic. It is this universal energy of love and compassion. Pisces is really like this Christ-like consciousness, which is a lot of times why in the Bible Jesus is represented by the fish and Pisces is the two fish. And so it brings on this Christ-like, all-encompassing, all compassionate, very zoomed out astral representation. And so we are ending limitations. We are ending the things that hold us back from being this highest self, from being deeply spiritually connected, right? And then adding to this energy is the asteroid Vesta. Vesta, the eternal flame. Vesta represents what we devote ourselves to in this lifetime, in a sense of sacrificing so that we can do something meaningful, so we could follow our purpose. And so with Vesta in play, conjunct this eclipse, this solar eclipse, this hybrid eclipse, which I will get to what that means. It really brings on to, again, what are you ending so that you can commit and devote yourself to your highest potential, to your own personal Christ-like mission. And you don't have to be religious to understand what that message is about. So this eternal flame, right? Our duty to keep this flame burning, to keep this flame alive. You might have to sacrifice some addictions, sacrifice maybe some people in your life, not killing people, but like, removing those in your life who are holding you back or who are keeping you away from your highest potential. Again, really this sacrificial type energy of, I might really enjoy this, but is it serving the highest good? Is it serving who I am supposed to be? So Vesta is really about coming into this divine purpose. And so with the sun and moon eclipsing in the sign at the later degrees of Pisces, which is a much more evolved version of Pisces, like really seeing the message, seeing, like devoting to your spiritual self, devoting to the reason you are here. And Pluto squaring, challenging these identities that maybe you've built up over time, or challenging these feelings that maybe you harbor inside. Sometimes we are holding our own selves back. Sometimes it's not people in our life. Sometimes it's not circumstances. Sometimes it's our belief systems, what we think, what we feel. And so really cutting and closing out these limiting belief systems. And again, a lot of times it does tie into belief systems because both Pisces and Sagittarius deal with the energy of Jupiter, and Jupiter does rule this expansive belief system, our wisdom, our higher learning. And so we're challenging those aspects at this time. And so eclipses are energetic timestamps, essentially, that move us through time. They move us through our karmic energy as a collective. And so collectively, we are processing where our belief systems have got us to. What have we devoted our lives to? Are we proud of ourselves in a sense of feeling spiritually sound, feeling spiritually secure? And with a lot of these upcoming changes, with a lot of this energy that is going to be a lot more destabilized in the collective as we approach Pluto entering a new sign, Capricorn, and Uranus entering Taurus, which is coming the next year, 2024. We really want to be spiritually sound and really anchor ourselves to this universal truths, to our deeper understanding of why we're here. We need purpose, right? A lot of times looking around in the world, we see that a lot of people feel lost or confused, and it's because they're lacking this sense of purpose, this sense of devotion. There's a lot of confusion going around. And so cutting through that to figure out your divine mission. Why do you think you're here? What's your soul resonance calling towards? We are really being invited to step into that. And if not stepping into it just yet, discovering, getting in tune with it. And so this is really potent time because that's what eclipses represent. They are more intense than your standard new full moon energy because we go through the new and full moon every month, right? And so we do these journeys around these energies, cycling through new themes, new energy. But when it comes to the solar and lunar eclipses, it lasts for not just that month, it lasts for 6 months until the next cycle of eclipses. So eclipses always come in pairs. So we have the solar eclipse first, and then May 5th on the full moon, we'll have the lunar eclipse. And these two will work in tandem together for the next 6 months until the next set of solar lunar eclipses. And so they represent really large themes. So don't expect to just transform necessarily overnight, though you may feel that energy starting to rise. You may feel these themes starting to approach. And so feelings of frustration are completely normal, especially with Pluto squaring, right? We're being challenged. Anytime we're going through some type of death period, ego death, just transitional phase, right? We are faced with certain challenges. We can feel a little irritable. We can feel a little even depressed and sad at times. Allow yourself to feel the emotions. This is Pisces we're talking about. This eclipse is happening in our emotional bodies, in the deep depths the deep depth waters of the sky. And it's really asking us to dig deeply. It's asking us to look beyond just the physical life, right? Like we're not here just to make money, to pay bills, to do the taxes, right? That might be necessary, obviously, right? We have to live, we have to survive. But life is so much more than that. It is so much more than the day to day. It is so much more than just we're here, we exist, we touch earth, we leave. There's a spiritual purpose. There is an expression that exists within each of us. And so really dedicating, really committing to understanding your purpose. And this is a really big calling. As you can see here, the North Node is actually in the first degree of Aries according to the sky. So it looks like it's right here, but it's actually right there. It's this black line right here. And this is the North Node at 1 degrees. So even though the eclipse is happening in Pisces and the North Node is actually in Aries, I'm combining these energies, right? So it is very much the Pisces ending, which represents that Vesica Pisces looking symbol that Pisces has. And really allowing yourself to go through this transition portal, to go through and accept and welcome in these new beginnings, to allow yourself to change, to choose a new direction, to pioneer for yourself. You don't have to walk the path that everyone else is walking. And that's the whole thing too with Vesta's devotion. What is your spiritual mission? It's for you and you only. And it shouldn't leave you confused. It shouldn't leave you feeling distorted. It should bring clarity. It should bring peace. It should bring deeper understanding to you and yourself. And so really allowing yourself to step into this new energy, letting old die, letting new missions awaken within, and really stepping into the potential that is this doorway between Pisces and Aries, this infinite potential that exists before the birth. And so what a divine time. So for those who don't know about the different types of eclipses when it comes to solar eclipses, there are 3 major differences. One is a partial solar eclipse, one is the annular solar eclipse, and then there is the total solar eclipse. Partial, you can kind of hear what that is. The moon partially blocks the sun, not creating that perfect ring. The annular is actually when the sun is blocked in the center, very center by the moon, creating that very bright ring of fire. And then the total is when the moon is actually, depending on its location compared to the sun, is a lot more, it blocks a lot more, hence total, right? And instead of having that bright ring of fire, instead you get to see the much thinner ring, allowing us to see the corona of the sun. So it's that lighter color across. So I'm going to bring up a visual reference so that you can see the difference in case you're unfamiliar. Okay. So as you can see here, this is a partial, this is the annular, and this is the total. Now, depending on your location, this solar eclipse that is happening on the 19th or the 20th is going to appear as both an annular and a total, making it a hybrid. And so again, this depends on your location, how you see it. Is the moon blocking a lot more of the sun, or is it a lot more dead center? Now, the thing is with this solar eclipse is it's going to be predominantly over the Indian Ocean. So some locations will be able to see it, but it's not a large percent of the population. We can still tune into this energy, feel it for ourselves, tap into it. You don't have to see it. You don't have to be directly in that area in order to receive it. We are all deeply connected to all happenings across the world, including the celestial happenings. This is why when you are born, you take in the whole sky. And so we will be able to receive, feel, and work with this energy. But yeah, it's pretty incredible because this is going to be a hybrid. It is going to be both the annular and total. And so it is considered to be a fairly rare event. So really take advantage of this. Feel into yourself. Ask yourself those questions. If you've been feeling called to shifting, changing, letting aspects of yourself die, letting aspects of your reality go, this is a wonderful time to really dive into what it is that needs to go, what it is that needs to change. And then also, if you've been looking for your purpose, if you've been looking to dedicate yourself towards something that feels good, that feels aligned with who you are, tune into Vesta's eternal flame. What keeps you burning? What lights you up? Find in your heart that mission that connects you to the higher realms. Not just about getting the money, not just about, having material success, but what brings your soul purpose. Tune into that. It's so important. So there's so much more also going on. That's just this eclipse, and that is occurring depending on your location. It is either happening the night of April 19th or the wee hours of April 20th. So I am on Eastern Standard Time, so it's happening at midnight on April 20th. But for others, it may be, the 19th. So just look at your time zone, see where it is. But yeah, it's going to be really potent. So the very next day, April 21st for my time zone, Mercury is going retrograde, and Mercury is currently in the sign of Aries. So if you've been feeling that Aries fire and wondering where it's coming from, it's Mercury. It's the mental body. It's sitting in this fiery, energetic, initiating energy. But now it's slowing down. So it's going to be a lot more still during this eclipse, because the very next day, it is going retrograde. So it has to station holding still before it can start to perceive to go backwards. And so with Mercury retrograde, obviously there's a lot of fear that people feel surrounding this, but it's really a wonderful time to tune into the inner realm, right? Rather than using our brains constantly, the monkey mind, to figure out, to do tasks, to, work with and analyze and process, it's a lot more internalized. And that's what retrogrades really do. So where planets are typically expressing outwardly, when they're retrograde, including in your birth chart, they express inwardly. So it is a wonderful time, again, to tune in, to slow down, to pay attention to what it is that you want to start anew. Not starting just yet, but brainstorming, allowing the universe to really reveal to you what it is that you need to be doing at this time. Mercury retrograde, really in the sign of Aries, points to new ideas, new visions birthing, right? And again, coming usually after the retrograde is it a great time to initiate these new ideas, but they're coming in during the retrograde. Really pay attention, slow down your mind, and it's a wonderful time to tune into the creative mind, because of the mental processing of the left brain is going to be quieter, it's going to be a little slower. So creative activities, which are still brain activities, are a lot more supported during this time. So if you can dive into any type of creative practice, creative expression, that is a great time to do so. And then the very next day, April 22nd, the sun will be entering Aries. So this is really, again, we are in these a couple days just after and during the eclipse of endings, of coming to terms with, parts of ourselves that needs to go, spiritual devotion. And then the sun's going to move into Aries, and it's like, okay, so who is this new me? Who is this new identity, right? The sun representing the identity, the ego, and stepping into fiery Aries. Really, I was going to say egocentric, but that kind of has a bad term. So it's much more of a Aries representing the self. The sun is exalted in Aries. It loves to be there. It loves to express itself, finding itself, adventuring, trying new things. So again, really allowing yourself to step into new. So we're coming to a closing of energies. We are choosing spiritual devotion of some sort, something higher than ourselves, some greater purpose, devoting ourselves, having an ego death of sorts, and then redefining ourselves during the sun's transition into Aries. So there is so much going on. There is so much to align with, to feel into. Again, this is a 13 sign true sidereal astrology perspective. If you were to look up with a sky tracking app of sorts, either Skyview if you have Apple, and then if you have an Android, you can use Stellarium. Those are just two that I know. There are more. You can look up and you will see that the sun right now is not in Aries and not moving into Taurus. It is in Pisces, about to move into Aries. This is visible. We can see this. This is self-evident. And it's time that we align with the actual celestial energies. So I hope that you enjoyed this breakdown of the celestial energies. I hope that it was digestible, understandable. Let me know how you're feeling tuning into the comments. Let me know. I would love to feel into you and get the feedback, because we're all living under this energy now. We are feeling into it in real time. You are just as much of a celestial barometer as I am while reading these signs, right? So tune into your own field. What's coming up for you? Do you feel that egoistic death, parts of yourself looking to rid so that you can start anew? Do you feel that calling towards devoting yourself to something and therefore sacrificing what no longer serves your highest good? Do you feel that desire for spiritual pursuit, for deeper meaning besides just the material world? And can you feel the Mercury energy slowing down, the brain quieting down, and really wanting to dive within and discover the self? Let me know. I would love to hear it. Anyways, enjoy this wonderful hybrid eclipse energy, and I will talk to you all soon.